Hey, welcome back. This is a supplement to the first video you watched. It was the 90-second video. Man, I had to cut that thing way down because I'm very long-winded. But I wanted to give you a very short clip that just kind of said, hey, this is what's going on. This is why I'm bugging you. And this video, I want to go more in depth into what we're talking about whenever I say the citywide music series. So this one won't have as much editing. It's not going to be quite as trimmed up. It's just me talking to you and giving you information. So the packet, I want to bring you one of these. I don't think I was very clear in the first video. I was panicking, trying to say everything very quickly. So your time's important. I know that. Yeah, so the packet that we want to bring you, I talked about what's on the front cover of this thing whenever you watched that first video. Our audience, I didn't go into a lot of depth with this in the first video, but I've got maps that I'm very proud of. I'm not going to stick that up to the camera here, but I can superimpose it on the video later if I think to. Probably won't, but it's in the packet. And what it shows you is that we are highly concentrated in the Fort Worth area. That's where 99% of our viewers are. But it's a podcast, and it is distributed throughout the world. So we have a lot of viewers in India. We have viewers in New Zealand. We have people in Australia and Germany and all over the world. But by far, all of our viewers almost are here in the Fort Worth area. And I've got the analytics to show that. I've got the maps to kind of show you the population density and whatnot. But we do more than just podcasting. We go to these events, and that's where we really connect with the community. And that is an eclectic group of people. You've got people from all walks of life showing up to these local Fort Worth events. And so it's more than just the podcast is what I'm trying to tell you. We actually have a mobile podcast studio that we're in the process of putting together. It is a large white box truck. And if I put pictures of that in here, you'll see it's ridiculous. It's so big, but it's a rolling billboard, and I want to put your logo on it. I want to put your company information on there so people can see that I'm very proud of my sponsors. But that's one of the things we want to do with your company is put you on the side of the mobile podcast studio. It is not ready yet, but that's why we're talking. I need sponsorship. I need some help with this. Podcasting is not inherently expensive, but whenever you do it big and whenever you start buying things like mobile podcast studios and a brick and mortar studio, it starts adding up. So anyway, that's what we're waiting on with the mobile podcast studio, but that is coming up, I'd say within a year right now. It runs. It does do that, but we have to build out the inside so that people can walk in, sit down, do a recording with us, and it's a little gimmicky, you know. It's just something fun to take to events and show people like, hey, look at this crazy thing we did, and they can come inside and check it out. Kind of like the Wienermobile, but not nearly as much clout, not yet anyway. Audience, yes, I'm telling you. All sorts of people, and that's included in the packet. Also, I had prepared a kind of a timeline, and we've passed some of these dates, like February 17th, visit Fort Worth, brought the Fort Worth Roots podcast out to the Fort Worth annual meeting. And this is just, it's a huge event, and it's the first time that they've brought podcasters out to this thing. And we were extremely flattered. Like, it's a huge honor to even get invited to this thing, let alone be in the first group of podcasters that ever got to attend this thing. So, very cool stuff. April 7th, we start off our kind of our going out for these events thing, now that it's event season. April 7th is the Psychedelic Panther. It is a 2-day event, and they kind of focus on the psychedelic music community, and it has a huge draw. Last year we had people coming from out of country to come to this thing. Very cool deal. But of course, it's a lot of locals. You've got people from Fort Worth mainly, people from Denton, people from Dallas. But then you do have onesies, twosies trickling in from Kansas or Germany. It was pretty wild, but a lot of fun. Got to engage with the community, and that really is what started it off for us as far as the live event thing. And that was last year about the same time. We did that at Main at Southside, which is rest in peace, no longer with us. But Cicada is a new business inside the same building that should be firing up soon. They did a soft open the other night. Pretty cool stuff. And then April 20th out at Pouring Glory, we are putting together an event with the owner out there, Scott. And That's going to be a fun event. April 22nd, this is the big one, the River Oaks Springfest Car Show. Last year, they are estimating 10,000 people. The guy that was doing head count, he stopped counting at 7,000 heads. He was just like, all right, that's enough. And that did not include the vendors or the classic cars that showed up. They had over 300 classic cars, 88 vendors. I think there were 3 food trucks. So it's just a massive event. And this is a great opportunity to get in front of the community. What? This is a great time to get in front of the community. And something that we like to do at these events is pass out goodies, So if your business has flyers, business cards, great. We can put that into grab bags or just put it out on the table for people to come by and check out. If you're a sponsor of the Fort Worth Roots podcast, we have a huge banner that will be displayed and have your logo on it. Of course, we'll be saying nice things about you, and we do recordings at these events, and we'll be talking about our sponsors during these recordings. And then as people come by the table, we'll have everything out. If we do goodie bags, then that means that we had enough to put in a bag. If we just have a few items from a few sponsors, we're not going to go through the trouble or the cost of packing bags, but we will be there giving out stuff. So that's one thing that we do with these events. And then September, all this year, right? September is our last one that we have on the schedule so far, but we're going to put some more on the schedule. We're kind of in April mode right now. We're just focusing on that and talking to sponsors. So that's what we'll be doing for the month of April. And then, we get invited to events too. So we try not to load up our schedule because people will call us 2 weeks before an event and expect us to be there. That accounted for half of what we did last year. Is just people saying, hey, would Fort Worth Roots like to jump in on this? And we are extremely mobile. We just pack up our gear, pack up the flyer or the banners and the pavilion, and situation dictates. I might need the generator, which I have, battery packs, and anyway, I got a whole bunch of stuff that I bring to these if I need it. Most of the time we don't need it though. And then, so September, the big event, that's the one that we put on. I did it last year. Great turnout. Everybody had a lot of fun. Great engagement. The stats for the show went through the roof after that thing. So we're really looking forward to that. That's a Fort Worth Roots event. Like, we put it on. It's ours. And then after we get done with 2023, talking to nice people like you, making sure that we've got the sponsorship to do the next big move, which will be 2024, we are going to start up a revolving music series, a citywide music series where we go to different venues with our musician friends and have them play once a month. And then it all concludes in September where we have our big annual event. That's 2024. And in doing this, we're going to kind of start a whole new thing for Fort Worth, and it will be every year. We will continue to do this. We will pick it up in February, and then we will stop in September, and we will prepare for the next cycle. And we're just going to keep going. So whenever I ask you to be a sponsor of the show and the music series, I'm not asking you to do this temporarily. I want to have sponsors that want to help grow the show and promote their business, of course. But I want to have you with me every year. I want to do this with you long term. Now, inside this packet, it says in print, you can get out of it anytime you want, but that's not what we want to do. We want to establish friendships with people the way we have with our current sponsors. It's just good stuff. It's the way to go. So that's where my head's at. Thought you should know. And then 2024, the music series is going to have Avery. So far, we've got kind of handshake agreements with this right now. Musicians don't typically project this far out. But right now, we have Avery Burke, Late to the Station, Itchy Richie and the Burning Sensations, Jaybirds, and the Traumatics. 5 really incredible bands. And I'm just really excited that I've managed to build a reputation where I can call these people and it's an instant yes. They want to do stuff with Fort Worth Roots because we put on really fun events and it gets them in front of a lot of people. So that's going to be cool. Oh man. All right. So sitting back, trying to decide, what can I do for your business to make this something you'd want to do? Because obviously for me as a podcaster, I just want to podcast. I want to do these events. I want to go out there. I want to engage the public. This is a lot of fun for me. It's my passion. I It's what I want to do. For you as a business owner, you need to know what you're going to get out of it, right? Yeah, Andrew's great, but what's in it for me? All right, so the benefits. If you'll send us graphics, we've got a pretty impressive social media following. And if you're anything like me or the people that I talk to, you're so sick of social media. I'm sick of it too, but it's just kind of the thing that you got to do when you're doing anything. My musician friends have to constantly be online. My business owner friends have to constantly be online. And podcasting, it's the same thing. We're all just sick of it, but we're doing it anyway because it's a wave of the future. But we do have, on average, 11,000 interactions on social media per month. That's over Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. Now, just recently, our YouTube page has gone through the roof because of something called Shorts. It's basically TikTok on YouTube. And it is super easy for some reason to get traction on this one leg of YouTube. So our views just went from, wherever they were at. And I think the number that I saw on the analytics was like, we're up 230-something thousand% on viewership. I don't feel like that's even fair to put in here because it's tens of thousands in the last couple of weeks. It's ridiculous. But interactions across the board, all social media, 11,000 interactions. And that number continues to increase. Now, if I put any kind of ad money towards that, those numbers are just rookie numbers. It's hundreds of thousands once I start putting money into it, which I've done in the past to support our September event or River Oaks Springfest Car Show. I'll put a little money into that. But once we have sponsorship, there's going to be regular advertisement. So much so that at some point, we're getting a billboard. We're going to do it. I don't think I need to go through this entire list. I'm going to bring this to you so that you can read it all off. But one thing I do want to point out, this is probably the most impressive thing to me. I've owned businesses in the past, so I kind of know what's going through your mind on the other end of this. You have tried every different kind of marketing strategy. You've had people trying to squeeze money out of you for a month or two until you realize it's not working, and then you cancel it, but you've already given them the money, and then they're gone. But the really cool thing about podcasting is once we have said the words, talking about your company or whatever, and it goes into the podcast world, it stays there. As long as Fort Worth Roots podcast is a thing, it will always be on the server. So let's say 2 years from now, you decide to close your business down. Or, God forbid, you decide you're done with Fort Worth Roots. That's okay. So you decide to quit using Fort Worth Roots podcast as a advertising means. Well, your information is still going to be on that episode that you paid to be on. You're going to be there forever. As long as Fort Worth Roots is still paying to be a podcast on a server, your information is always going to be there. And the reason that's relevant, if you paid for a billboard, if you put an ad in a newspaper, if you did any of those other little marketing things that you've tried over the years, you know just as well as I do, as soon as you stop paying those people, it's gone. You'll never see it again, unless you took pictures or saved a copy or something. But it's just gone. So with podcasting, it stays. It stays on the videos. It stays on the recordings, all of it. So to me, that's the really impressive thing. There's a lot more benefits to this. We talked a little bit about the mobile podcast studio. We want to have you on the show as a sponsorship episode. We've done one of these. You can find it on our catalog. Roofing Solutions by Darren Houck. I want to say it's like episode 123, 124. But it's the first time we've done that. And then what I did afterwards is I took that episode that I did with Darren and I cut it into little bits so that he could use those videos for his social media content. And I got that idea from doing a video. I had somebody ask me to come out and do this with them. They had the camera set up. They had their whole crew. All I had to do was talk. And that's exactly what they were doing. They were trying to get 6 months worth of social media content knocked out right there. And it's a great idea. And so from that, I decided that's one of the benefits for doing these sponsorship episodes. So you come here, or I can come to you, and we do a full episode just talking about you, your business, what you're all about, what sets you apart from your competitors. And I'll have questions made. And once we're done, I can release that as a full sponsorship episode. And then I can take those individual clips and turn them into social media ammunition for you. So that's one really cool thing that I want to do with you whenever you become a sponsor of the #1 show in Fort Worth. All right. What else we got here? The monies. I'm not going to talk about the monies, but it's on here. I have no problem giving it to you. Highlights, there's no contract. You do not have to worry about a 12-month period or something like that. Probably before I put your logo on my van, there's going to be, some stipulations. Like you have got to, have been with us for X number of months before I'll put your logo on the van, because that would be awful if I went and I paid to have vinyl put on the truck and, I just had people dumping us. Anyway, but the money side of it, it's very affordable. I whittled this down as far as I could, and still, it's still an option. It's still going to work for the podcast. We'll still be able to make it, just barely. But anyway, and there's different pricing options. So we're good. You will be able to afford it, I promise. Probably by now you can tell that I'm not great at sales. I don't want to sell you. I don't want to sell anybody. I don't even want to sell your product. I want to believe in it. And that's why the sponsors that we have right now are so important to me. And they kind of set the format for what I'm going to do moving forward. I don't have any trouble telling people that Darren Houck with Roofing Solutions by Darren Houck is the number one roofing choice in Fort Worth, because I truly believe it. And it's not because I just like Darren. I do. I think he's a great guy. But you can go online and you can see the guy has a sterling record. And in that industry, over all the years that he's done this, that's incredible. I know that because I have worked in roofing before. And anyway, I'm super comfortable with Darren. I'm comfortable with this product. Pouring Glory. I'd been going there for years before they became a sponsor. Now, we're probably not going to have that option. I probably have not been using your product or services or coming to your facility for the past few years. But if you are in Fort Worth, there's a pretty good chance of it. At any rate, I just want to be able to be comfortable with our sponsors, enough so that I'm not selling anything. I'm just telling my listeners about an amazing product, service, or establishment. And so that's why I reached out to you. Talked about this in the first video that you probably just watched, but you weren't selected randomly. I did my homework, and then I walked into your business, and I gave you a little bit of an invite, a thank you, a pat on the back. And that also is sincere, because there's a lot of businesses that are moving into our area, but we need to support the local businesses that are owned by local people and keep Fort Worth dollars in Fort Worth pockets. It's something I say on the show a lot. People probably think I'm silly. I am silly. So anyway, I'll finish with this. Fort Worth Roots podcast started 3 years ago, almost to the day. And it's been a long road of trying to polish and figure this thing out. And I'm not done at perfecting this thing. It's not done. But we are at a point where I'm ready for sponsorship. I tried sponsorship within the first 3 or 4 months of me starting the show, and I immediately canceled it. I told them, I was like, there's no point. There's just no reason to. But we're past that now. Now we've made a name for ourselves in the community. People know who Fort Worth Roots is. And so now we're picking up sponsorship. And there's going to be another video. I don't know if it's going to be out anytime soon, but I'm going to get the sponsors in to tell me why they like sponsoring the Fort Worth Roots podcast, like what it did for their business and stuff like that. But we've already made a name for ourselves enough that we're ending up in local publications. We're getting invited to events all the time. And that's not just bragging. It's just kind of the situation. And my email box for Fort Worth Roots is constantly bombarded by people that want to come on the show. Whenever Leah King's office contacted me, the president and CEO of United Way, wanted to be on the Fort Worth Roots podcast, I was like, okay, yeah, we're ready. We're ready to start bringing in some friends and get this thing really going. And with sponsorship, we'll be able to advertise a lot more. It's going to help accelerate the growth of the show, and we'll be able to do a lot more events like this. So thank you again for your time. Thank you for what you do for our community. You can get me on email at media@fortworthroots.com. Our website, of course, is fortworthroots.com, and it is Fort Worth Roots on all the stuff: Instagram, TikTok, Twitter. I don't use Twitter. Don't go there. Facebook, though, YouTube, all the stuff. Fort Worth Roots. Easy to find. Okay, I'm going to go make this video a real thing, and then I'm going to print out some cards, and I'm going to bring them to your office after I call and ask if that's okay. And one last thing, if you decide that Fort Worth Roots doesn't really promote the message that you want to send with your business, there are so many really awesome podcasts here in the Fort Worth area that would be happy to take you on as a sponsor. So if you needed something a little more niche, a little more specific to what you're trying to sell, you should look into these other groups. There's the Jerry Jonestown Massacre podcast. There's the Funky Panther podcast, Funky Town podcast, Forever Reckless. I am forgetting some really important ones. The Failed podcast, Fort Worth Famous. Did I say that? There's Forever Reckless and Fort Worth Famous. Anyway, there's a lot, and I'm going to put several of them, more than what I just listed, in the show notes for this video that you can check out. So if we're not a good fit for you, there are podcasters in this area that would be very happy to help you out. I just had to shout out my friends. We have a really tight podcast community, and what I mean by that is if I've got an event going on, they show up for that. If they've got an event going on, we show up for them. And it's very collaborative, and I love it. So if Fort Worth Roots is not really your cup of tea, we got something out there that's your flavor, I promise. All right, that's it. Thanks again. Talk to you soon.